Welcome everybody to the Edge Rowing Podcast. Super excited today to say that our guest is Charlotte Hodgkins-Byrne. Charlotte was in the GB under 23 and junior scene for years, picked up quite a few medals as well, a couple golds as well. She's in the GB team from around kind of 2017, 2018 through to about kind of 2020, and competed at the World Cups and the World Champs and everything. Charlotte, thanks for making the time at your busy schedule. And the other thing I forgot to say as well, competitive domestic cyclist slash semi-pro cyclist now as well, which is something always super interested in the translation between rowing and work and rowing and other sports. So something else as well I'm excited to hear about. But anyways, Charlotte, thanks for making the time.
Oh no, thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be on here.
Awesome, awesome. Cool. So yeah, Charlotte, normally what I like to hear first is just how you got started into rowing and what was the kind of beginning of your rowing journey.
Yeah, I often actually, this is kind of like the moment where I feel like the least inspiring athlete. I always joke about this where a lot of people have like such a great backstory as they would like they had a vision of them being an Olympic athlete from like straight out the womb, and they had posters on their wall, and they had these sports stars that they were trying to be like. And quite honestly, like I didn't grow up in a sporty family. My parents weren't sporty. They're very arty. Like my mum tried to, bless her, she really wanted me to be a violinist. So
Oh
she,
yeah.
she was like, yeah. I mean, to
Sorry,
be fair, like
mom.
I know, and like yeah, I played it for a bit, and I mean actually quite a long time, but then sport kind of took over, and so my sister Matilda started rowing first. I'd done kind of like hockey, bit of cross country running, netball, the kind of classic school sports. But yeah, Todd started rowing, and she's only 2 years older than me, and we're pretty much the same person in terms of
Oh yeah.
like build, physicality. I mean, she's got longer arms than me, so I think that probably helps her. But yeah, so she started rowing, and she quite quickly did pretty well. I think she'd been rowing for like a year or so, and then went to Coop, which is like the
Yeah.
the rung below world champs as a junior. And I'd kind of like shamelessly, just as a younger sister, just been like, well, I'm just going to copy her. It looks like she's doing pretty well. I want to do some of that. So I
What was
started.
it that hooked you? Like what was it like seeing her on the kind of that higher stage, or was it yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, to be honest, like I've been thinking more about this kind of over the past few years, and at the time maybe I didn't realize it, but I think like I was quite a tall. I didn't end up being particularly tall as I continued to grow, but as a kid I was pretty tall and like quite muscular. And I definitely struggled with that because, as a 14, 15-year-old kid, if you're a bit taller, stronger than other kids, you do really feel like a bit awkward about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And so I think in some way I kind of saw her also being tall, strong, doing something where actually this was an advantage, and it kind of felt like a good fit. And I think it also gave me a bit of comfort in that there was a sport that I tried, and like I was very quickly pretty good, just because of like natural physicality. So I think honestly the thing that kind of hooked it was like kind of just a place where I could, like, for want of sounding too deep about it, like belong and feel like I fitted in, rather than like having to
Mm.
like feel like I needed to hide my tallness or stature. So
Yeah, well, there's a massive
yeah,
drop off in participation for teenage girls of that age, isn't there?
yeah, and it's such a shame. It's actually something I'm super passionate about, because I think as a young girl, I mean, I'm sure some like boys feel this as well, but I think it's really prominent for young girls. You feel super self-conscious about your body at the time, and
Hmm.
you all develop at different rates, and so some will be more muscular and a bit more taller, a bit bulkier, whatever, than others, and you do feel like you stand out. And it is, you know, if you then start realizing that you're training more and you're doing more weights, which makes you a bit more like strong and muscular, you're going to stop, right? And you're going to be like, this is something that makes me feel even more self-conscious, when in fact actually if you persevere, you could end up being really good. So it is such a shame. And I think
Hmm.
it's, I mean, I don't know what it's like now, but I definitely remember when I was at school, like if you were sweaty and like red faced and tried hard in sport, it was a bit of like oh, what's wrong with
Hmm.
you, why are you
Yeah.
doing that? Whereas like obviously that's then been the bulk of my life, and I don't bat an eyelid at it now. So yeah, I wish that wasn't the case. I like to think that it's getting better, because you're seeing more and more. ambassadors in this space, which kind of show young
Yeah.
girls that you can just go and be sporty and it's not something that's weird or different. But yeah, it's a shame.
What would be your message to maybe someone at that kind of that younger age, that when you started rowing and when you were feeling that way, what would be your message to them to give that encouragement to find a sport or to continue in a sport?
Oh gosh, I mean, at the time, it feels like the opinions and the thoughts of your peers are so important. And if you're quote unquote cool or not, it feels like the end of the world either way. Fundamentally, it literally doesn't matter in the slightest. Like, I wish that I'd been able to go, but like, I did pretty well out of it, but I would have been so much happier if I'd realized that you go to uni, you never have to see anyone who's like mean to you when you're 14.
Yeah.
And I look back now and I see so many people who are weird about it have literally done nothing with their lives. And I'm here like, cool, I went to the Olympics and that was because I just like ignored you and carried on. And I wish that, yeah, more kids could realize that what's happening in that little microclimate at school, it
Yeah.
literally doesn't matter. And if you can just block it
Something.
out and just pursue what you want to pursue, you have a great opportunity ahead of you. So yeah, that's what I'd like to
That's awesome.
push
I
if
love I
possible.
love that we're jumping into these like powerful messages so early in, and that's yeah, super excited to hear more. So okay, so like that was kind of some of your reasons then. Um
Mm.
going and you picked it up quite quickly, and what like you kind of were you on track for like Coop and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, so I was very strong, but technically I was terrible. And I went to Hartpury College again following Matilda. And the coach there basically said to me, "You're strong but terrible, and unless you improve your technique, I'm not taking you to GB trials because you'll be an embarrassment."
What?
Which, to be fair, totally back that because like he was so right, and I love him. He was Tom teacher, so he coached my sister at the games just gone,
Oh
which is
no
a
way.
nice little full circle moment.
Did he
Yeah,
say
but
that directly, or was that kind of in a
yes,
nice wow, okay.
no, he was super blunt, which is great. That's how I like to work with people. But
Okay.
he was totally right because I think if he'd let me just kind of get away with rowing badly and just relying on physicality, I would have
Mm-hmm.
never developed as an athlete because like physicality only gets you so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone else catches up, and then you can't row a good technical model, and you're absolutely stuffed. So yeah, I was pretty bad, but I was extremely stubborn, and so he made me row legs only, including on half hours sometimes, legs only for 2 weeks,
On
to
a 30
prove that
rate 20,
yep,
legs
it was
only.
brutal. It was so hard, but but it
How
worked.
did you go like max on that, like legs only?
No, you
Can
can't.
you?
You can't. Like you really you can't. But you do get the message. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's one way to do
Um,
it.
yeah, yeah. You really do. But it worked, and then I went to trials. I don't know. I came like maybe 20 something, 30 something. Not super good, but got invited to the next ones. And worked really hard to improve. And I think I was maybe top 10 or so. And then just carried on progressing, and then went to Worlds. In the second, yeah, no, in the first year because I was a 1 year junior. So that was the other thing. I knew I only had 1 year to go as a junior, so it was a pretty, yeah, I worked pretty hard at it because I wasn't great to begin with. But yes, that was 2014. I went to Hamburg and got a bronze in the quad, which was pretty neat. And that's kind of, I guess, the moment I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm on this path. I should probably
Mm.
continue.
So what was the big separation to go from kind of 20th, 30th up to getting selected? Like, what do you think was the big change? Was it technically, or was it anything else?
um, I just tried extremely hard in everything. Like,
Yeah.
I have no shame in just saying, like, in any part of my life where I've done well, it's literally just because I've been a massive try hard. And particularly as like a junior girl at the time, if you just trained more, worked harder, paid attention to all those little 1%, it really made a difference. And I think like we had to do press ups as one of our assessments, I remember. And like I wasn't very good to begin with. And then I literally would just like, God, I was such a kino, but I loved it. Like I literally
Yeah.
every single day, because it was a boarding college. I would wake up, do practice press ups, and then I think I had like a number I'd set myself I had to do per day, and just worked really hard. And then did really well in the press up assessment. I went from like 0 to like I don't know, 20 or something stupid, which
Oh,
was
nice.
great. But
Wow.
like, but it's all just like, that's the thing, right? And I feel so strongly about this, that okay, within reason, you can pretty much do anything if you just decide I'm going to work extremely hard at it.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and that's what I did, and I loved it. It was a great time. So it's hard not to, like, you know, if you're trying hard and loving it, you can't really go wrong.
What did you love about it, the hard work itself?
Yeah, yeah, and I think also like, well, it's extremely satisfying, particularly at that age, because you're just constantly improving. It's so satisfying working hard and just seeing improvements
Yeah.
and just knowing that you're working hard for a reason, and you can see all this effort going in and find like it was a pretty like blinkered sixth form. Like Hartbury College is a wonderful state boarding school where you basically just go there for sport, and so everything is engineered around being a good sports person, and so everything
Hmm.
was so focused. I could be so driven, and yeah, and it was also pretty cool. Like for the cohort I was in, we were the best women's quad, like undefeated. Like we won Henley twice. Like we were
Nice.
really good, and so you're surrounding yourself with people who share the same vision, all want to try hard. It's like an amazing environment where you're all buying into that idea of working hard to achieve the goals. Yeah, it was so fun. I loved it.
What were the, when you're saying you're focusing on the 1%, I'm just curious which ones were you
Mm.
focusing on? Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I think like a lot of it was around like, so actually we weren't allowed to take, and I don't know if this is normal for other juniors, I assume it's kind of the same, but we weren't allowed to take any supplements or anything like that because our coach Tom, and actually once he saw me have, I had like a thing of SIS Rego, I think that someone had given to me, and I was like, oh, should I use this? And he was like, absolutely not, that's ridiculous. And it was like just like a very strong line of, you can't use these other things because chances are you're not getting the 1% right. And the 1% we would look at would always be like hydration, sleep, nutrition.
Hmm.
We even did like skim folds at the time
Oh,
as
really?
like a, yeah, like 16, 17. But it was all very healthy. It was all very engineered
Right.
around like, these are all the little things you can do better. There's no extremes. It's not like we were doing skim folds and people being like, good God, you're so, you know, you're so fat, you must lose all your, whatever it is, fat on your arm or something stupid like that.
Hmm.
No, it was all very much like, great, we can see that you've got more muscly, you've got stronger, like we can see all these metrics to see how you're improving. And it, you know, it would all be around how many veggies are you eating, like are you eating good proteins, are you recovering well, like I'd make sure I was stretching loads, make sure I was looking after all my warm-up routines, my cool
Hmm.
downs. Like I mean, I was extremely lucky that it was a, so Hartbury has a lot of funding from Gloucester Rugby, so we even had like ice baths and stuff like that. So
Nice.
kind of wild 1%ers, but they really made a difference, and yeah, they add up. They really do.
I always
And
find
we
as
did.
well. Yeah,
Oh
sorry.
no, sorry. I was just gonna say we also did a lot of stuff around like sports psych, but really good sports psych in
Oh,
terms
cool.
of like dealing with like nerves, dealing with like what actually are you aiming for, what are your goals, what are your ambitions, how are you getting to them, like what are all the small things that are going to feed up into achieving those goals, like have you visualized your race, like how is it going to feel. So all of that stuff, you really bought into it, and you felt, yeah, always felt super prepared. I loved it.
Wow. Sounds like a cool environment to get to dive into something full
Yeah.
on. I love the mindset stuff so much. What like what stuff were you, what did you learn going through that process? Like what kind of skills were you developing around your mindset?
Yeah, good question. I honestly, I was it was really useful because I'd never, I think actually to be fair, most kids don't have to deal with this type of stuff, but I was an extremely self-conscious, nervy kid, and I didn't really understand the emotions around that. And
Okay.
so like I was very good at hiding how I was feeling from other people. So everyone would be like, oh, she's like super chill, super happy, super outgoing. When in fact I was like, you know, playing 3D chess in my mind of like, how can I best change myself to be best friends with this person or whatever. Like I
Oh, really?
there was a whole lot going on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think what was great is I managed to sit down with sports psych and actually like look at, first off, it's like I was terrified that I was actually like a really bad athlete because I felt super nervous. Like I would cry before my races. But then I sat down with the sports psych and just like, no, it's just because you care. And it was this moment of like, oh wait, like this is a normal emotion. It's actually, I'm not
Mm.
broken. I'm gonna be okay. And so I think doing a lot of stuff around like actually like, you know, facing why you're nervous,
Hmm.
dealing with what that means, that it's okay, that it means you're ready, that it means you care, that it means you want to achieve stuff, that stuff's important to you. Did a lot of stuff around like, um, to be honest, like a lot of the stuff around mindset is like I mean, as you know, like sport can be pretty brutal sometimes, and actually dealing with like not PBing, not improving, like
Yeah.
actually staying focused, being rational. I remember, again, this is another lovely Tom Petitius thing that he did, but I was also super irrational, and I would make like really emotive knee-jerk reaction based decisions. And so he used to, after I did a test, I would if I didn't do well by my own metric, I would always be like, I'm terrible, I'm awful, the world is ending, I'm never going to be any good. And he would be like, right, you have to write down all your irrational thoughts. You can't come and talk to me. You just have to write down in a notebook all your irrational thoughts, then go away and have a think about it. And then write down your rational thoughts and why maybe some of those irrational thoughts aren't true. And then we can have a conversation about it. And that was actually a really good process because,
Yeah.
of course, you have, like, if you're upset with yourself, of course, you have those, like, really, like, intense, volatile, like, quite unhealthy reactions sometimes. But then if
Yeah.
you take a step back and you can give yourself that framework to work through them and make them rational and actually like
Mm.
constructive reactions to things, and then you can have the conversation, then you have a much better and much more productive conversation. So that was a really useful tool. Again, like quite personal to me, but it was very useful.
Was
And
journaling
then yeah,
something you did kind of your whole career, or was it just at that
um,
phase?
it was kind of just at that time. I did quite a lot throughout uni, to be fair, as well, but it was more of like I'm quite a I'm a very like self-reflective person. Like I internalize a lot of stuff. I think very strongly about how I'm feeling, why I might be feeling ways. So quite often I don't feel the need to write it out, but I think it's quite useful for me. And I still do this. Like I'll keep track of like how I'm feeling, and then I'll kind of like force myself to think, well, why am I feeling like that? What's actually causing it? What
Yeah.
am I doing wrong? Rather than just being like, oh, this time in my life it sucks and it's XYZ's fault. Actually being like, well, actually, no, maybe I'm projecting some of my stress onto that person and I'm actually being a kind of useless person in the situation.
Right.
And I think that kind of thing is quite useful. But yeah, I definitely learned the framework for that type of thing at college. And then kind of learn how to be a bit more balanced. I think that's
Mhm.
kind of what I'm striving to still be, but in general, I'm much more balanced.
Yeah, the I think the process of journaling and even just kind of awareness or recognition just helps you. You don't have to like actively solve the problem, but it's kind of just taking yourself out of that first person. It's kind of almost like you're
Yeah,
observing yourself rather than just experiencing it. And things like prose journaling kind of like it gives you control over the thoughts or just like the stuff you're talking about, the reflection. So, well, I'm just
totally.
curious when you're feeling those nerves, like what were you nervous about?
Yeah, that's literally the thing that took me so long to figure out. Because I think, and everyone does this when they're nervous. They're like, oh, I just feel nervous and I don't know why, and I don't want to delve into it, so I'm going to back away from the idea of being nervous and not figure out why.
Hmm.
And actually, I realized like I was just like, it's pretty basic. I was just really nervous of not achieving what I deeply wanted to achieve, and I think it's like it's such a basic thing, but it's tied up in so many different parts of me. Like, you know, am I gonna have wasted like X amount of years of my life by stuffing up this race and not getting what I want? Like, to an extent, being nervous of like how hard
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go and how deep I'm gonna have to push myself. Nervous that, when it comes to that point, am I gonna be able to do that or am I gonna back out from it? And I
Hmm.
think that it takes like initially it takes quite a bit of courage to actually psychoanalyze yourself and be like, I'm just actually really scared that I'm not gonna deliver what I deserve to deliver to myself.
Yeah,
But
that's a
yeah,
good
I
way to
think
put it. Yeah.
yeah, because that's fundamentally what it was for me. It's like, I've worked super hard for this, and there's a chance that in the moment I'm gonna back out and not give myself the
Hmm.
performance that I deserve to give myself. So yeah, I think that's kind of typically what it would be. And it's just like, as you know, like sometimes these like races and tests are just horrific. and
Yeah.
and there's like an element of the unknown there, right? Like you could just accidentally go like a little bit too hard somewhere too early, and then you're stuffed. Like
Yeah.
you're blown, there's nothing coming back. And that's horrible to go through. Um so yeah, so I think some of that would also be tied into that. And then I guess like, it's something that I still am trying to ignore, but there's always that added anxiety and stress around that definitely creates nerves of like, what will other people think of me? Are people going to be thinking,
Hmm.
God, she's a bit crap? Or like,
Yeah.
you know, she's not like, wow, look at her. She's tried X amount of years to be good and she's not won or whatever. Like, there's always an element of that. And then I think it just takes a bit of time to realize that fundamentally no one cares. Like, literally no
Yes.
one cares about you.
Yes.
Um,
I was just gonna say that because I remember what my big epiphany moment was when um, I quit the GB team and stuff like that, and then
mm,
it was a few days or a week or something later, and we were out with Pauline's mum for her retirement dinner or something like that. And it's
yeah,
not that anybody said anything or anything like that, but we were driving home, and I was just looking out the window, and I just realized it just came to me all at once. I'm like, yeah, people will be like, "Oh, that's so great you did that," or whatever, or "Oh, shame about this," or "Good for you about that." And maybe,
hmm
of course, there's always going to be that judgment out there, but I was just like, yeah, exactly like you said, no one gives a shit. Like people
no
just
one
get on
cares.
with their life, and
Yeah,
there's something kind of like liberating about that. I think that you can
yeah,
just realize that you're doing it for you.
totally, totally. And I think it's also like, if you take a step back and think about it, like, sure, I mean, I'm a human. Of course, I've judged people, but I don't really give it, like, I'm too stressed about what I'm doing myself to actually have enough bandwidth to be like, oh, so and
Yeah.
so didn't do that. Like, I just don't care. So therefore, they
Mhm.
can't really care about me because they're too consumed with what they're doing. So it works both ways, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, quite a lot of mindset works early.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Cool to hear. And I think
Mm,
it's growing. I think people are getting more aware of it. And Stephen Feeney, who's somebody who did mentoring work with us, and also Sholto, who
yeah.
mentored him, which I didn't know, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But he talked about how people see it as it's like you go to it when there's a problem, like you broke your leg, you go to the doctor. You
Mm,
have bad nerves, you go and work on your mindset. It's like even when you feel like your mindset's good, it's still something you should train and you should
yeah,
develop. So it's cool to see you guys were doing it then.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
cool. So like what was the next steps then for you under 23? I think you went to UL, was that right?
Yeah, 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 I did. Yeah, so I went to UL in 2015. Yeah, 2015, and I learned to sweep. That was pretty fun.
You
Well,
learned
actually,
to
I say
sleep,
that
right? Right.
yeah, it wasn't fun. I actually never really enjoyed sweep, but the trouble is, if you go to uni, you have to be able to sweep. So it was something that I kind of put up with. And then the problem was, I sound like such an idiot saying this, but the problem was I ended up being okay at sweep. So I went on 23s
Oh,
for
so
sweep.
annoying. Oh, that's
No,
selected.
but
Don't
I
you
was like,
just
oh
hate it when
crap!
that
Like,
happens?
no, but it was like such a strange thing. On the one hand, I was like holding this deep-seated hatred of sweep, and
Mm.
then also at the other, at the same point, I was like, God, but I'm like I've got seat racing and I want to do well, so I'm going to try try
Wh-
super hard, and now I'm selected in a sweep boat. Oh God,
Why did you hate sweep?
I it felt unnatural. It felt weird. I could never like it came back to like it was basically something that I was decent at and was good at. Like, yeah, I was good at it. Like, I just I hated it because it was just I could use my physicality, but I've never felt like I could quite master the actual like art of sweeping well. So it always
Okay.
felt foreign. It never felt right.
Mm.
Um, and I didn't. I just missed that kind of like purity of sculling that
Yeah.
I don't know why. I
Single sculling or
really
just crew boats? Like what?
any of it really. I think I really understood how it should feel. And so it was familiar and it was something that felt right to me. And then I think it also didn't help that I'm an extremely stubborn person. And for some reason, I just decided that I didn't want to be a sweeper. I think, do you know what? Actually, maybe some of it as well. When I was a junior, if you weren't good enough to scull, you got moved to sweep. That's kind
Yeah.
of how the like team was selected for junior sweep. So in my head as well, I also saw it as which is totally not true. Like sweeping is like I've never been able to master it. Like it's an art. Um, and
It's
but
easier than sculling, let's face it. Come on, everybody knows that.
ah, so having done both, I just can't get it to feel right.
Uh,
Like I just used my arms, like my legs maybe a little bit, but I just couldn't get the stroke right. And so,
yeah.
but the trouble is, I just saw it as this like this thing that was second class to sculling, which was totally incorrect. Like they're two very good things in their own right, and yeah, so that was kind of problematic. And so I went to I went to under 23s in the eight in 20 shoot, when was it? 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016 maybe. I'm really bad at
I th-
remembering, but
I think that
around that
was I was
time.
looking at your resume or whatever you call it, your Palma. What do you call it in rowing? I don't know.
Palmares,
Anyway,
I think.
that's like a
Whatever it is.
cycling thing. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, so I went, we did pretty well. I think we got silver. So that was exciting. And then but the trouble was from that then reinforced it's particularly in Shep's
Oh.
mind, Charlotte's a sweeper. So so I still stubbornly tried to scull.
You just need to
Um
start self-sabotaging yourself. Just start catch a couple boat stoppers off the start.
well, the thing is I was an absolute grumpy little pig, so I don't know how they can continue to like me because I was very vocal about hating sweep. Um, and then I I got selected again in the eight the following year, but managed to actually have like the stars align because on the morning of and this is in Plovdiv, the morning of the quads final, one of the girls fell sick,
Ah,
and I remember it so vividly. Shep came up to me and was like, right, one of the girls is sick. Can you sub into the quad? It was in the hotel lobby, and I remember I just suddenly was like filled with this. I got so sweaty, and I literally just like went and sat down. And I was like, I don't even know if I can hold blades. Like I've been sweeping for so long, and now you're
oh
asking me to
yeah.
sub in, and like they were on for a really good medal
In a
chance. So I was
quad,
like,
yeah.
yeah, and I was like, oh god, this is a lot of pressure. But it was cool. Managed to make it work. Like I was like not able. I tried so hard. I don't think I was like able to see from like 750 in. Um, but did well. We won, so that was really cool. And
So
then
like what were you that there's that concern and that stress there going from sweep.
yeah,
Oh shit, like, I'm sure there's people being in similar situations. So how did you handle that if you can remember like
it's hard to remember. I think I spoke. Well, Sam was at my boyfriend was at the same championships, and I went and spoke to him, and he was like, in his usual delightful way, like I'm always like, oh god, okay, this could be like, here are all the things that could go wrong. This is really stressful. There's a lot of pressure around this, and he was like, this is sick. There's no pressure. There's no expectation. What an opportunity. Go and smash it. You're gonna be
uh
great. And I was like, okay, fine. I just need to be more like that. So,
yeah.
which is true because I think when you're like from his point, he was just like there's literally no expectation on you. Like they
Yeah, that's
either
true.
have you or they're not racing. So already they
Mm.
get to start the race. And fundamentally, you've been sweeping all year, so like no one thinks you're going to come in and be this like exceptional sculler. Just like
Yeah.
go out and have a blast, um, which was super helpful. And then I think I just kind of got in and was like, I just need to like I just need to crack on with it. Like I can't overthink this. I just need to do it. I was super close to one of the girls in the boat and she was great. She sat behind me and um we've been friends for a very long time before and she was super I think she was probably lying, but she was like, oh, this feels so fast, this feels amazing. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm rowing sideways, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're never gonna believe it, are you?
No.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, I just kind of have to, yeah, I just have to crack on and just not overthink this and just like keep thinking just like one stroke in like from the next. I can't think too far down the line. Um, and then yeah, after we finished and won, and that was cool. And then on the pontoon afterwards, Shep was like, "So Charlotte, I think we can talk about you sculling now." Yes, it's happened.
There you go. Manifested
So
it.
that's how I got out of sweep. Yeah, but that was a pretty wild situation. I mean, just like it gave me a real respect for people who jump in and are actually spares. As like some people are like,
Mhm.
it's their career. Like they go to the games and they're a spare and they have to jump in, and that's flipping terrifying. I don't know how
Yeah,
they
it's
do that.
brutal.
Kudos
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, okay. So next steps then? I guess
Yeah,
you had another year under 23 or something. I think you were in a
I
double, weren't
did.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
was in
was
a
kind of a nice
yeah,
upward trajectory, wasn't it?
yeah. That was my favorite year of rowing. To be honest, that was a phenomenal season. So, I
Oh,
think
that
off the
double, you,
back of
you guys were rapid, weren't you? I remember because I
yeah,
think I was in the like development group and you guys were like top of the percentages by like miles every
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
we were
it was
so good.
annoying. It was a bit annoying actually, a little, I have to say. It was a bit, yeah, a bit
It
selfish.
was so good. It was so good. It was just like it was such a great partnership. It was also just like yeah, we worked with Lauren Fisher as well. Like she's a phenomenal
Yeah.
coach. like, well, also just like phenomenal human being. I think like, and it sounds like I'm such a, you know, such a fan here and trying to really suck up to her, but she just like honestly, she made me a better human being.
Oh yeah,
Like, great. She was a
cool.
wonderful coach, but she also just like made me a better human because I was definitely like still quite, irrational, still quite yeah, just sometimes a bit emotionally driven and not super helpful, and I could get caught up in stuff that just didn't matter, and just like dealing with her, like, yeah, working with her was amazing. She was, yeah, honestly can't fault her. She was wonderful.
What did you
um
change? Well, like, how did you become a better person? I'm interested to hear that.
um Honestly, she taught me to be so much more patient with myself and other people, particularly with other people. I think she's really given me something that now I definitely see as a real strength of mine, is I'm able to work with people who, and kind of like be in situations that could be quite um unpleasant and confrontational and egregious, but actually I'm able to, from working with her, I'm able to put myself in that person's shoes and put aside all my kind of
Mm.
like biases or own judgments, or emotionally driven, like, oh, it's not fair, they think that, they're getting a free ride, I should be the one that's, in the right here, but actually look at it from their point of view and
Yeah, the
actually have
empathy.
a better situation because of it. And so she really taught me how to be a really great team player and have really good relationships and understand people well.
Could you talk me through
That was
just, or
huge.
even just a hypothetical example of, say,
Sure.
you did a session, it didn't go well, or whatever, you're frustrated at a coach or another rower, and how she would talk about how you should be maybe more like, or just try to be more understanding to them, like.
Yeah, I think it's the principle of basically being like, at like base level, no one. Oh, okay, there are obviously exceptions. I don't think anyone can say Hitler was a nice person, but for your normal person, no one is out here trying to be a horrible person. No one is trying to be mean. No one is trying to be dysfunctional. No one is trying to hurt you because they're a nasty person. If someone is doing something that's to you upsetting, they're doing it because something's going on with them, and you should actually take a moment to think about, well, why are they being like that? Why are they saying this? And then you take a moment to realize actually they're extremely stressed, they've had a huge fallout with their best friend, partner, mother, whatever. They're dealing with, I don't know, potentially being cut from a squad, cut from a job, cut from something. Actually give them a, like, if you're in the privileged position of having a bit more bandwidth and a bit less emotional stress, you should take that privilege and take a step back and give them a bit more space to express what's going on with them, and not be so short-sighted to just make a snap judgment and bite back at them.
Hmm.
um and that's definitely something that in crew boats I found super helpful, because there's such pressure cooking environments. Like, it's so easy to get bogged down in like stupid infights, or they're saying this or they're doing this on their ergo, that
Hmm.
means they don't care about the boat and they're trying to sabotage it. No, actually they're just really stressed about their own performance or the crew's performance, but they can't vocalize it. So taking a moment to actually like think, well, why might they be saying that, what is driving that, and if I have the bandwidth to think about it, I should be the better person. I shouldn't, just because they're like, it shouldn't be a tit for tat. It shouldn't be like, well, they're being mean, therefore I get a free pass to be mean to them and
Hmm.
say something that I know will hurt them. Um, yeah, I think just stuff like that was
Yeah.
really, really beneficial. And I saw her do it even with like people who, like athletes or coaches who would objectively be nasty to her. And I'd be like, how are you not biting back with that? And she's like, well, they've got a lot going on. I'm like, oh wow, okay, fair enough. And
Mm.
so I think I think just like, yeah, perspective. That's kind of the main initial thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting as well because it kind of sounded similar to the way that you were approaching dealing with your own emotions in that way of kind of just like
Yeah,
understanding and kind of just like observing rather than kind of being in re that reactive state to it.
totally, totally. And I still do it now. Like, my mum laughs at me. She says that, like, well, I often have like many different conversations with myself. So I'll make a joke with her being like, "Oh, I've got like 5 different Charlottes in my head right now,"
Oh yeah.
and it's quite useful because you can be like, "Oh, there's like a version of Charlotte inside of me that's really stressed and feeling super vulnerable. Maybe the other Charlotte should have a conversation with her." And it gets very convoluted, but but it's
Nice.
quite a useful way to do it.
Fair. Well, I remember David Goggins talked about how he had two versions of himself, and he put all the ones that he wanted to be, and
Mm.
then all the ones he didn't want to be, and that kind of helped him sort of
Yeah,
kind of choose who he wanted to be in a situation. So
totally.
interesting, interesting. Okay, so pretty successful then in that double, getting along well
Yes.
with Lauren and your crewmate.
Yeah.
Um, what was I think I remember as well. You guys were like maybe on track for Tokyo as well. You kind of like what was oh yeah, like what was the path looking like for you? Like were you starting to get excited about the Olympics? Like talk me through kind of what your
Yeah.
thoughts were at that time in your career.
Yeah. So this was tough. So we had an extremely successful under 23 year. We won and got a world record, and then off the back of that, a couple of weeks later, we were invited into Caversham to go and race at the Senior Worlds. And we did that. I think it was maybe like a month or so after, and we came fourth. So we did really really well. Um, the assumption was that I would go and train with my partner, who was out in the US for uni then. But she had an accident in December, so we couldn't continue the double, which was a massive shame. So I then, yeah, I continued on in the squad. I think I finished up my degree in 2019. That was it, and then came in, and I was pretty set on, like, I had very much decided that I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I didn't know how many I wanted to do, but I very much saw it as
Hmm.
like kind of like in it from a like almost just like a logical point of view. It was like, well, I've done all these steps so far. I need to, like, for want of a better word, complete the steps.
Yeah, I
Um,
get that. Yeah.
yeah, and so I came in, uh, and it was a period of adjustment because you come in, you like I was very like I was riding on such a high. Like I'd come in, I was like I had a great relationship with Tomo, the coach at the time. He was lovely to me. I was very much tipped as like the exciting new young kid on the block, which was fair because I'd done really well. And then I realized that actually senior rowing is pretty hard, um, for a variety of reasons. Like it's a lot. It's your job. It's your life. It becomes very consuming. And so I was selected into the quad for the following year, raced at the World Champs and the qualifiers, qualified the boat. That was, yeah, that was really cool. And then from that point onwards, I was very much like, right, I'm going to Tokyo. I don't really like.
Hmm.
There's nothing that's going to mean that I don't do that. So I was very set on it in my mind. Um,
What was so hold
I,
on before we kind of go to
yeah,
Tokyo, like
sure,
what was that transition? So sorry if you just said, but
of
you
course.
went, did you go full time into like the kind of Caversham like role? Are we still doing like kind of part time uni or anything like that? Just you
Yeah,
mentioned going, yeah, that
good. Yeah,
makes sense.
good point. So I actually went in. I had like a period of transition when I was still at uni, and I went into the team. And this was actually really healthy for me, because I quite like being, uh, I quite like being able to like stay academic or like at least like use my brain in other ways. I find just like solely thinking about sport and that being my only identity, I find that quite challenging.
Hmm.
Um, for a bunch of reasons. But yeah, so I went I shifted my last year of uni to be, or like the last, maybe even like the last half of my last year to be part time, which gave me a few more months doing like finishing off one of my modules. And that coincided with like the winter period, maybe the spring period of the what would that be? The 2019 year. Yeah, the
Yeah.
2019 year. Um, and so yeah, so I went in doing that, and like this is the probably the only point where me being an absolute tryhard really wasn't very healthy because I was getting pretty burnt out. And it was all my own fault. Like it was 100% my own fault because I was trying to absolutely floor myself in training because I was super excited about it. I was having a great time. It
In
was,
in what way were you push like just doing everything as hard as you could?
Yeah, kinda. And I would just like do extra stuff like outside of being in Caversham.
Oh,
I
really?
would like yeah, yeah, yeah.
Normally don't let
I
you
was
try to, they try to stop you doing that, don't they?
they didn't know about it. So
Ah, nice.
so that's kind of how I that's kind of how I did that. I was still working, so I was still coaching as well, which was only small, but it would still be like, time spent on my feet, like time spent rushing around. I was not getting enough sleep. I was still trying to maintain a very like fun social life. And it got to the point where I was getting more and more tired, but I was like, this is fine. This is totally okay. And then it like I think I when was it? I can't remember when it was, but I started just having like I've always had quite high lactate on my ergs, but it started to get really high, and I worked really closely with Paul Reedy, one of the coaches. I love him,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Yeah, just something's not quite right." And he actually used to give me lifts into Caversham, and we would
Or
always use it. He knew that I was being a little bit like a little bit intense, but I think he was kind of like he's like, "I'm not going to just tell you to stop everything because I appreciate this is what you want to do at the moment, but we need to kind of get this under control."
Mhm.
And so he's like, I think what you should start doing is getting your lactate taken as you come through the door.
Oh,
And I
really?
was like, yeah.
You're living
And
your life in UT too.
well, no, because yeah, literally, I came through the door and Sarah would take my lactate and she's like, yep, it's above 2.
Wow.
And that was the point where I was
Training
like,
was the
right,
easy part.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get a bit more sleep, a bit more structure back into my life and
So,
kind of
so
calm
yeah,
down a bit.
just for context for people that haven't had lactates taken before, UT2, which a heart rate, I guess, around kind of 70% of your max, so like 140-ish or something like that, depending on your age, you normally be around a 1.5 to millimoles ish.
Yeah.
So just for yeah, like you're basically at UT2
I'm living a
in
UT2 life.
in some ways, and then like when people do 2Ks, it can go from 8 up to kind of like 20. It depends on the
Mm,
individual. Just for the context for the numbers and stuff. But okay. So you found that
yeah.
you were doing quite you were quite tired.
Yeah, a little bit tired. And the problem with that as well is if you do everything kind of at like a UT1 slash I guess for cycling zone 3 slash just semi hard in general all the time, you can never hit those like high performances.
Hmm.
And so that did kind of, and I actually ended up, I had to take a bit of time off because I also was becoming a bit like iron deficient as well. So there were a couple of things, and the coaches that I worked with, Reedy and Tomo, were really sensible, and they're very good at being like I think I did, yeah, I did a 5K, and I was just like, I was trying as hard as I could, and I just couldn't hit numbers, and they were like, let's go and get your bloods done, something's not right here, and they then kind of backed me off a bit because of low iron and also just general too tired.
How much sleep
Um,
were you getting?
I don't really know because I up until now actually I haven't really tracked my sleep, but I roughly can guess it. I think I was probably like in the 5.5 to
Why?
6.5 hours. Yeah, I
People that get
know.
under 6 hours consistently, I just, oh
It's
my
not
God.
healthy.
I can't like I've not I've yeah I can't function. My if I
Yeah,
get one day I'm fine, but two in a row I'm done. I'm a
I
vegetable.
know. It's bad. And Reedy as well, bless him. He used to be like, right, and then you need to get 8 hours, and then for every hour of training, you should ideally get the equivalent time in the nap throughout the day.
Oh yeah.
Um, I I can't nap. I wish I could, but
I don't think napping's
I
good.
just can't.
I don't like it.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I
Mm.
lie there and I think, gosh, just think about all the things I could be doing right now, and then I wake up and, or at least just get up and go and do them instead.
Mhm.
So I'm not good at
Yeah.
it.
The only thing I found useful was 20 minutes shut eye. And like I had to
Mm,
stay like in my kind of normal clothes so that I was motivated. It was like if you got into your pajamas and stuff like that, it'd
yeah,
be hard to get out of bed. That's the only thing I noticed. But um
yeah.
I love to sleep. I was sleeping like 9, 10, 11 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Pauline
don't think I could
actually
ever do
banned me
that.
from going to bed before 8 p.m. That's one of my brags. That's how extreme I was. But
Oh
yeah.
my God.
But yeah, Rory
I
Gibbs
just,
actually, he's the most he said he used to consistently sleep 12 hours a day.
good
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's
anyways, yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, it helped. It helped. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's just why I think it's crazy that you were sleeping that amount and doing
Yeah.
like 150, 200K and then extra on top of that. So,
Yeah. I
um,
wouldn't recommend it.
Hmm.
doesn't serve you well.
Okay, okay. So you caught that then, and just were you able to recover quickly, or is it kind of
Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah, it was pretty good because like I think, yeah, just the combination of knocking the training back, also having it so clearly spelled out to me in like the blood tests and like lactate tests and just performance tests that like fine, I might be having fun and feeling like an absolute hero just like burning the candle in this way, but I'm fundamentally not going to achieve anything. And
Hmm.
that was just such a like, and it was great to have that shown to me in what would it be like December, January time, because that then gives you like the whole rest of the actual season to fix it and not repeat those mistakes. And I'm definitely someone who I would love to not be like this, but I'm really bad at listening to people until I've experienced why I shouldn't do things firsthand.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
think
I
I'm the
think so. It was
same.
just a useful
Yeah.
lesson, to be honest. Yeah.
I
So
think it's kind of like
I was,
if you
yeah, it
hear
was
it from
fine.
someone else and then you experience it yourself, you're like, right, okay. But sometimes if you're
Mm.
doing it, you get experience it yourself, you kind of also need someone else to say. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay, what
yeah.
advice? So like just things to maybe like look out for, or just thinking about somebody else who's maybe pushing it a little bit too hard and not recovering, like anything that you can maybe look out for, or even just advice something you would say back to your former self in that situation.
Yeah, totally. I think one thing that I've really begun to notice, and I use this a lot now, is like I used to always think that having a consistently low heart rate in training and my heart rate not really going up, I thought it used to always be like, oh, I'm just so fit. But now I realize if my heart is just staying consistently low and I'm
Hmm.
not like, if I go out and ride now and my heart rate doesn't like if I do something a little and if I like press on a little bit and my heart rate doesn't increase, I need to start being careful because
Yeah.
that's for me a very early warning sign that my heart rate's suppressed because I'm too tired, I'm under recovered, something's not going right. So that's kind of a good one, like a really easy metric to pay attention to. And then because you can see your heart rate variability over a session, and if it's not really if it's a bit lower than normal and suppressed, then I think that's a good little thing to
Hmm.
keep track of. The other thing as well is like and I still do this, it's so easy to get drawn into a trap of like more is more and it's so satisfying, just keep pushing and keep
Yeah.
trying. And like I had it the other week, no, actually this week I was too tired to go and do a race midweek, and because I was under recovered from the weekend, so I had a recovery ride programmed instead, but I ended up doing a bit longer than I should have on my recovery ride because I was stressed about the fact that I wasn't racing. And that's obviously really silly, but I think it's like
Mm.
I had to take a step back and be like, hang on, what are you actually trying to get out of this? Is the goal for this week to do half an hour extra on your recovery ride, or is the goal for this week actually to perform at the race you're doing this coming weekend? What is more important? Is it more important that I finish the week with half an hour extra in my training diary, or is it more important that I finish the week doing well in a race? And then I think reminding yourself and taking a step back and thinking, what am I actually trying to prioritize here? That for
Yeah.
me is a really helpful because it's so and I definitely notice as I get more tired it's really easy to fall into the trap of like I just want to keep pushing, I want to do more, and then you're like, yeah, but to what end, like what am I
Mhm.
actually doing here? So that's quite good. And then also like don't be ashamed to like if like I'll go through periods where like I love racing, I love training, really love training, but recently because I'm really tired, I have not enjoyed my training as much, and that for me is a huge sign that I'm
Yeah,
tired, and it's
that's what.
okay to feel
Do
like
you know
that.
the name Charlie Simpson, Dr. Charlie Simpson? He has the book
No, I
Advanced
don't.
Rowing. Yeah, he's done some work with us, but that's the number one thing he always says as advice is if you don't want to train, don't train. That's what
Yeah,
like kind of the simplest metric he uses is mood. We track
it's
mood and
totally.
mindset as well. Um,
Yeah, because it's
so
huge. Because fundamentally, you're choosing to do this, and so you have to trust that you are driven and you're not soft and you're not just being
mhm.
pathetic, which is so often just the default to think that about yourself.
Yeah,
And if you're not feeling motivated, there's probably a reason. You're either like hungry, tired, or
yeah.
you've got a lot of stress going on. So one of those things is bad.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a strong link between our body and our mind.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, okay. So also just as you kind of go on this journey, go into towards the Olympics, like what I always like to hear about like what people feel like they improved upon. So I guess there was with Lauren, you learned about kind of dealing with teammates and in yourself as well, I guess. But and then just there about handling recovery and managing load. Like, what other skills do you think you developed that helped you progress? If you can remember any. I know we're kind of
Mm,
covered some already, but
no, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. That's actually a really good question. I think I think it wasn't so much like I improved a lot technically. I like got a lot better in like, physically and technically, but I think I it was a combination of enhancing the things I'd already been working on, particularly the kind of like mindset and like mental side of things. But I think for me, the thing that I really realized was like actually what makes me good in a boat isn't maybe what I thought it was.
oh yeah,
Um, so I'd always kind of been like, well, I win seat racing because I'm just like strong or good, or I do well in seat racing because I'm just strong and good. But then I actually realized, no, actually my asset is getting the most out of other people. And I realized in the run to the games that it's not actually about like so much of it, particularly for my boat at the time, it wasn't just about like being good physically. It was like actually getting the most out of other people off the water as well, and actually trying to like I had to take a bit of a step back and be like, I need to really put my personal stuff aside in order to kind of make everything mesh better and make
hmm,
everyone get like basically get more out of other people. So I think it was kind of like a mindset shift as well of being like, I need to fully accept that I am not going to be a priority in this boat. I need to not be a big personality. I need to just accept that I'm going to have to be a bit of a backseat. And in doing that, let other people be like their best selves because
interesting.
they need to have a bit more room to be like seen and be prioritized. And that's fine because ultimately my aim is to do well rather than be like the number one face of everything. So I think that
Interesting.
was quite like it was just like a real
That's interesting.
realizing that like yeah the off the water stuff and the things that I would bring to the boat maybe weren't as obvious as what I initially thought they would be.
Mm.
Um, yeah, a bit of a strange one to realize, but yeah, there wasn't like a groundbreaking thing that I learned. It was just yeah, kind of that, and then just enhancing everything else that I've been working on. Yeah, bit of a strange one.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that stuff. And just we were chatting earlier about kind of like what your work's like now as well, and
Mm,
so many parallels between what you're talking about there and just how you're talking about your job and stuff. So that's cool.
yeah,
Right. So obviously into that COVID, like when did you get? I
yeah.
know what did I remember what happened for the men's squad. I don't remember what happened for the women's squad. Did you get selected for the quad and then it was like, right, no, like we're starting again when kind of lockdown happened, or what was
Yeah,
the
so
whole experience that great time like?
that was actually a really strange one because so, it was a really rogue one actually because the whole run up to the games was slightly confused for the sculling team. So initially Tilde and I, as in my sister and I, we've been focusing on doing a double, like in the like a viz camps in the run up to it.
How are you guys in
And
a
kind of
just sorry, I know you're just interrupting, but like how are you
sure.
how are you guys in a double? Do you get along well? Are you kind of fighting or like what's that like?
Honestly, I think not being able to do a double with Tilde at the games is the only thing I regret about rowing.
Oh yeah.
Genuinely, we were really good, and like in Mallorca in November. So this would be November 2019. We had a sit down with Jurgen, and he said to us, like, because we no one was beating us in the double, and he was like, "Well, you can have the double if you just carry on like this. Like, if no one beats you, you can stay as a double." Which we were super stoked about. Like, we're very close, very close. Sometimes too close. Like, we can really wind each other up
Oh
because
yeah.
because we know each other way too well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we row very similarly. We get like it's very nice being with someone who knows you so well that you can not
Mhm.
you don't need to say anything. You can just
Yeah.
know what the other person is kind of thinking. And there's such a great trust and bond there. So yeah, kind of gutted that I never got to do that with Tilde. But then Jurgen decided to do a quad, which is fine. And then I actually so he the whole oh god the whole that was actually I'd forgotten about this. This was actually extremely chaotic. So um we went to camp in because the quad had been myself, Matilda, Jess, and Melissa. We went to camp on when was it? It must have been like January or so. Yeah, in a viz, did some rowing around, did some testing, and then he I can't remember what he decided, but like Jurgen and some of the coaches had a bit of a. This is when the COVID stuff was happening. We were getting sent home. They had a bit of a toing and froing, and Jurgen was saying, "I'm going to announce the cruise," and then the coach was being like, "No, please don't do that because the crews aren't set." And then he was like, "No, I'm doing it anyway." I think it was with Brendan. The whole thing was very strange. We were all just
Oh
sitting there on the
yeah.
steps. It was very weird. And then so the women's boats weren't, well, I don't know what about the suite, but for sculling it wasn't really set. It was kind of like a, if we have to race in the next like couple of months, this is what it'll be, but other than that, go home and train. So we all kind of were just sent home and trained, but our coaches like Reedy had been very, and Jane had been very clear that like and well, actually Reedy, he ran the sculling group, he was like, apart from Vicky, like the crews aren't set, like just go away and train,
Hmm.
which was the right thing to do
Yeah.
because no one knew how long this was going to go on for. And in the end, actually, our boat ended up being something totally different. Well, 50% different. So yeah, so I think it, yeah, but I felt really lucky. I actually really liked lockdown. I had quite a lot of fun. It was like a
Yeah, I liked
really
it.
solid training block.
Yeah. It's so good
Yeah,
for cycling,
yeah.
I bet.
Well, that's how I actually ended up cycling.
Oh really? Right.
Because like I hate, yeah, fully, because I hated being indoors, and like we were living in a two-bed flat with three of us training, one of us, so four people, three of us training, one person working, two
Who is it? So
couples,
you,
and
Sam, and George, was George in your house at the lockdown?
no, that was before that. This was pre-George. This was Imogen Grant and Matt,
Right.
her boyfriend, well, now
Right.
husband actually. And it was really fun, but it was also just like so intense because you'd wake up. So Sam and I had we were in a like a top floor flat. Sam and I had the room, so it was like split level. Sam and I had a room above the living room, and we would wake up to the noise of the ergo, and then someone would go to sleep with the noise of the ergo because the ergo would be in the living room.
All
So
right.
like the ergo was permanently in use, and it was
Yeah,
just
that's a
like,
bit much.
oh, it was just quite, it was quite bleak. We even had a squat rack.
Um,
I don't know. We made it work. It was okay, but I was going pretty mad. Um, and really was like, well, you seem to like going out on your bike. Why don't we start doing some biking outdoors so you can get a bit of headspace, get a bit of time away? Um, and then there was one moment where I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy being on my bike, and that was for some reason I don't. I like sometimes doing random things which are just like, I'll just say I'm going to do this, and people are like, that seems like a dumb idea. I'm like, well, now I've said it, I got to do it.
yeah.
So I think it was on the longest day of the year. I woke up just before sunrise and my plan was I was going to ride from like the official sunrise until the official sunset, and I just woke up and went and did that, and I did like, oh, it was so close to 400k. I think I did like
Wow.
394, but I was absolutely pooped. I was like, I literally cannot pedal anymore. I need to just go to bed. Um, and but I loved it. I had so much fun. And then I was like, oh, I think there's actually something in here. Um, there's a reason I maybe enjoy cycling more than rowing right now. So
What did
I
you
guess that
enjoy
was
more
kind of,
about
and that
it?
was pre-games.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not so I'm not entirely sure. I think it's so Sam has actually floated this theory, which is it's very hard to stay doing one sport for more than 10 years. And I think that's probably true. And I was,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
like I'd done it
To
pretty, like
do it
I'd loved it,
full
but I'd done
on.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? And that was me kind of approaching my 10-year mark with
Hmm.
rowing. And I think it was a new challenge. It was also like, just being fully honest about it, it was also like eh, I've been rowing for such a long time. I was still progressing, but my progression was slower because I'd just been
Hmm.
doing it longer.
Yeah.
Whereas cycling, I instantly went and did it and did some rides with actual cyclists, and they were like, "What the hell? Why are you so good?" And then I kept improving because at the time, those people I was cycling with, they kind of see it as like, well, this is a newbie to cycling. How is she good?
Yeah.
Whereas in fact, it's like, well, sure, I'm a newbie to cycling, but I have also been training full time for like 8 years.
Yeah.
So if I'm terrible, there's something wrong.
Yeah,
And
sorry. I
it was
just
just
remember
so
how
easy to progress.
I had a similar story like that where there was this chain gang that I found on Strava and I found the Facebook group and I put a message in it and I was like, "Oh, I'd like to join. How do I join?" And I don't know how they saw
Yeah.
my profile or something like that or whatever. And someone replied being like, actually, it's a pretty serious group. Like, just so you know, it's not your average like Sunday cycle. And I was like, I had doubts
Oh,
about
for God's
joining it,
sake.
but then I was like, as soon as I got that reply, I was like, I have to do this. So I went, yeah, I went and did. Eventually, that guy, I looked on his profile. I'm like, that's what your face looks like. I'm gonna get. And like, I was
Oh
miles off
my
the
God.
pack of everybody, but eventually, my second ride with him, I beat that guy, and I was like, yeah, let's. But
Nice.
like on the B twin
Nice.
and stuff like that, on like a decathlon bike that
Yeah, yeah,
with the like rowing one piece. Did you ever go for a bike ride in your one piece
yeah. No,
all the way up? No.
I didn't. No.
I think
I
lots of
think I.
those have. I have.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah,
seen that.
it's a good look.
I've seen it a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I will actually my first like I had some cycling kits. My first like literally my first proper introduction to cycling was through Sam, and it was actually after the world champs in Bulgaria where I'd like I think he won he won the double and then I won the quad, so it was pretty successful. We'd both gone into it thinking that we were maybe going to have not a successful U23
Right.
campaign, so we'd like planned a trip to be like satisfied with our summer, and that trip was cycling home from Bulgaria to London. And so that was like my first introduction to cycling. Obviously, we both were like super stoked about under 23s. Then we were like, oh crap, now we've got to spend like 14 days cycling home. But hey ho. But that
Did
was
you
the
do it?
first bit I did. That was really fun. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
mega. It was so
Oh,
great. We loved it. It was amazing. Um,
fair
yeah,
enough.
bikepacking is super fun. It's really good.
I know, I don't have, I'm very focused on edge rowing, and so I don't have that kind of like drive to do those challenges right now, but I think I will at some point again
You
in
will
the
at some point.
year,
Yeah.
maybe. But yeah, that's why I like that as well. I think I didn't do it anywhere near a 400K, but I did just gradual. I like that challenge of doing a little bit more and kind of you're going out and you don't
Mm.
know if you're going to be able to make it or not. I think that's what I found quite
Yeah,
exciting. I think I did a 200K
it's
cycle, but
cool.
nothing.
Nice.
But anyways.
No, it's neat.
Sweet. So cool. Out of COVID then, and then into your like, talk me through that kind of experience into the Olympics and what that process was like.
Yeah, it was a funny one because we changed our boat and we were all well, my sister was in it, so she was the most experienced out of all of us. She'd done quite a few senior races before. She had a few senior medals to her name. Like she was like, yeah, she was solid. She was very good. Is very good. Um, and but for the rest of us, we were all pretty new to it, which was interesting. Like on the one hand, it's lovely to have so much. Like I think sometimes having naivety is actually really good because it means you don't have any like preset concerns.
Yeah.
Everything's just like, well, why would we not perform? Of course we're going to perform, and there's no kind of doubts in your mind. But at the same time, I think experience is so valuable because you know the mistakes you've made and how you need to not make them again. We were very, I think, to our disadvantage, we were very good early on. So we went to Europeans and got a silver. And I just wish we'd been able to do a bit more racing before the games because we went into the games riding on the back of this silver at Euros, which was a little unhelpful because I think it would have been really nice if we'd gone to another race and got absolutely hammered by someone else.
Oh yeah.
Because I think then we would have fixed a few things in the boat before the games and also had to deal with more stress, whereas we'd never
Mm.
really had to deal with stress. We were very much like, cool, we're
Yeah.
good. And so yeah, the actual games experience, I think also it didn't help that, it was for some people great, but I think for us, well, for myself, I can't speak for other people because I obviously don't know what was going on in their minds, but it was quite a strange experience because all the COVID stuff just made it very weird and
Yeah, I bet.
it didn't really feel real. It
Yeah.
felt super weird. And at the
Surreal.
same time, it's just like, yeah, there's like so much going on, right? Like you're there being like, okay, on the one hand, like performance is the priority, but also not getting sick is a huge priority as
Right.
well. You're really stressed about being around other people. You're stressed about what other crews are doing because maybe they're gonna be mingling too much with other people, which means you could get
Yeah.
sick. Like the whole thing was just like really quite strange.
I remember that when I was in a
And
training group
yeah,
outside, and I was like following everybody in that training group. I was following them on Instagram, and I was like, "You better not be going gathering more
yeah,
than like, yeah." So I forgot about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I think also now, actually, knowing what I know about illness and viruses and whatever, and I think a lot of the stress was actually unwarranted. I think I maybe took on too much stress, like,
hmm
and it just actually it was unnecessary. Like it turned from that now what I understand about COVID and how to look after myself and how not to get sick. And I think I probably could have just like calmed down a little bit, but I was so stressed about because when you're at the games, you got tested every day, and if you got a positive test, even if it was a false positive, you would be on a plane sent home.
yeah,
And so that's like not a lovely thing. And then there was just like because of the COVID restriction, and this was the same for everyone. So some people were really good at dealing with it, but because of the COVID restrictions, it just meant like when you're actually in the village, there was just so much extra admin and tiredness that you had to do, like loads of walking, you had to do
mm,
loads of just like stuff that would adhere to protocols, but also was super tiring. Um, Around the venue as well, like you had to all these one-way systems. It was just a lot. And so yeah, it's obviously like such an amazing thing to have gone and done. And I'm very lucky to be an Olympian. Not many people can be an Olympian. And, I also feel extremely lucky because there were people who were going for the same cycle as I was and they didn't even get to go. And that sucks. So I was lucky that I got to go, but it just maybe wasn't the experience that I wanted, particularly like
yeah,
yeah. And I think it but at the same time, like I think I was also very aware that you know I was probably reaching the end. I knew that I was reaching the end of how much rowing I actually wanted to do. Like I
hmm
was pretty sure that, and like I tried to continue when I came back from Tokyo, but I was like, my heart is just not in this. I
yeah,
cannot do this anymore. So I think it was also like a kind of a sad realization that I was doing these games. It didn't feel great, and also it was going to be my last rowing race. So
mm,
there was that was kind of a strange experience to go through. Um, but super lucky to have gone and done it. And it's like, for all its weirdness, a great experience to have had. So I can't
yeah.
complain too much.
Yeah, I think it's so rare, it's so hard to go to the Olympics. And then it's so rare and so hard to just get the perfect experience at the Olympics that you
Yeah,
want. Probably like
yeah,
barely anybody there gets that. So,
no,
yeah.
exactly. And I think also like the thing that I've really learned, and this is it has even been from seeing and like having friends that have gone to Paris and they've done extremely well. And it hasn't brought them much happiness. And a lot
Mm.
of people, I think, myself included, previously put a lot of expectation on results, meaning happiness,
Yeah.
but that's just not the case at all. And so I think, yeah, I'm kind of fine with my experience in Tokyo because I realize now actually, yes, I love doing well. I love competing. I love winning, but those things are nice extras. They're not the core things that make me happy.
Yeah.
Like if I'm depressed, getting a medal or getting a good result is not going to fix that. I
hmm
need to go away and fix it because it's something else. So I think, yeah, I think learning that has been quite useful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the having spoke to done this podcast with a few people and the way they talk about it, it seems kind of like 60 to 70 people that won gold as well. There's
Mm,
that kind of talk about how amazing it was, and then there's that kind of, you know, and you can tell there's still kind of some unanswered questions that maybe they were hoping
yeah.
would be answered by doing that. And then I had Georgie Brayshaw on, and
Oh, nice.
her react, I could see in her face, though, I was like, oh, like you just like that looked incredible. Like you could tell how much it like meant to her as well.
Yeah.
So I was,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So there's definitely still that element of like for me anyway. I didn't get to the Olympics like you did at all, but some of that, I'll be honest, like jealousy, for
Yeah.
sure. But I think it's hard. Alan as well, who's like I'm close with, and he does work with us. He
Mm,
talked about how kind of like if you go and he came fourth at the Olympics.
yeah.
If you go and you don't get the result that you want, you're faced with that kind of reality hit immediately. But then if you
Yes.
go and you win gold, it's kind of like you're just faced with that 6 months later or whatever.
Totally. Totally. Yeah,
So it's
it's a really weird one.
yeah, interesting, but cool. Okay, so yeah, like um out of the Olympics then, and then you're pretty much straight into cycling.
Yeah, pretty much. So I spent yeah, I came back. We were given I think you get like a month away from Caversham or something. Um,
Only a
I
month.
wasn't happy. It might be more than that. I actually
I
like
know they're
in
cutting
my
down on
mind
it.
I have it. Yeah, in my mind I have it in as a month. Maybe it's a bit more. Maybe it was like 6 weeks. I'm not sure. Um, but I wasn't happy. I was not happy at all, and I think I'd maybe not been happy for a long time. And I'm generally a pretty chirpy person, so for
Yeah,
me, it's like that's not right.
yeah, I know what you
And
mean.
yeah, and so I spent a long time. Yeah, again, like if it's not already apparent, Sam is very much a sounding board of mine. So
Yeah, yeah,
I spent a lot of time talking with him, and he was like, you're not happy, like this, like something's not right, and so we spent a lot of
yeah.
time figuring it out, and it's such a hard choice if you like it's so hard trying to leave something that is your identity
Mm,
because like yes I had like a career that I was lining up outside of it. I had myself as a human being, like fine, I wasn't just an athlete, but fundamentally that was my identity.
yeah,
But I knew that I needed to step away from that identity in order to actually be happy, which is the more important thing. um but it's a hard choice to make, right? Because you're literally going from like on a
yeah.
really selfish level, you're like I'm going to take the choice to go from being like someone who is like one of the best in the country, pretty high up there in the world. Like I have some tiny level of notoriety around me. Like it's pretty cool to be a national team athlete. And I'm just going to give that all up.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. What does that look like? And yeah, it was a hard choice to make, but it kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm miserable going into training. I'm miserable being here. I'm
Yeah,
not a fun person to be around. I'm not bringing my best version of myself to training. I'm like short tempered. I'm not gelling with other people. Like, what am I doing? And I realized as well, like, I mean, it sounds like I'm being a really like do gooder, but I was like, fundamentally, I'm just being a bit selfish. If I'm staying here, hating it, and I know that there are girls on the sides of the team
hmm,
who would love to be in here, and they're probably like I was 4 years ago or 3 years ago, but I'm holding up a space, I'm taking up someone's funding. I should just leave. And it kind of, yeah, it got like I had a fairly blunt conversation with the performance director, and it was also the point where I realized like I'd probably need to be taking on a bit more tutoring, a bit more work, and I just wasn't sure where that put me, and I was just getting a bit concerned about everything, and it
hmm.
wasn't right. And so yeah, I started looking at what else I wanted to do. I knew that I still wasn't done with sport. I knew that I knew that I wanted to work as well. That was something that was pretty apparent to me. So I knew I couldn't row and work full time at the same time. But my interest in cycling, like I said earlier, had already kind of started. Um, and so I basically just cold called the woman who is still my coach now, and she was the head of GB cycling track coaching at the time. She
Yeah.
looked after them through Tokyo, uh, and I basically said, "Look, these are my numbers. I think I could be all right. Are you interested?"
What were your just for
And
like what were your numbers and kind of what? Because I remember most of the guys in the heavyweight squad I knew for track cycling that it was lots of them were beating like the track cyclists and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a
yeah,
lot more to it than sitting on a watt bike and going,
yeah,
but yeah, like roughly
yeah.
what were the numbers?
Well, so here's the thing. So mine, like I can't remember what they were for all of them at the time. I was like the benchmark is basically you want to be over 300 for 20 minutes. And that was the benchmark I'd had. I can't remember the rest of them. I mean, my sprint powers and short range powers have massively increased now. But the thing that I've really learned is numbers are nice in cycling, but they kind of mean nothing. Like
Oh yeah.
they're a useful indicator of there is potential here and this person is strong. But I I very much learned the hard way that like cycling is so much harder than rowing. Um, and so my coach, I'm still with her. She was great. She took me on. Um, yeah, we work really well together, and she got me into racing and kind of got me started. But yeah, God, like particularly on the track. So I do track and road, and it, you, yeah, you spend a lot of time getting absolutely schooled by people who have much worse numbers than you do. But they are just an absolute like
Really good.
wizard at reading a race,
Yeah.
or yeah, and they have no concept of like self-preservation.
Yeah.
So they will
One
happily
quote I
like
heard is,
absolutely send it around a corner.
yeah, you have to be
Yeah.
okay with hospital food, is what I heard.
Yes. Yes, totally, totally. And like I'll be like I'll like back out of going around a corner or descending too quickly, and someone be like, "Why did you do that? Why did you back out? You had to keep pressing." And I was like, "Because I'm pretty sure I would have decked it." And they're like, "Yeah, that's literally part of the job." I'm like, "Flip, okay."
Yeah.
So,
I went
but the
cycling with
nice
this
thing is
guy.
like,
Yeah, sorry. On you go.
no, no, carry on, carry on.
No, yeah, I just like when I was cycling with rowers, people were like, Jack, you're crazy, man. Like you go down the descent so fast. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty crazy. And then I went with this other guy who was more into
Yeah,
cycling. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I keep my driver's license with me in case I die so they can identify my body." I was like, "Whoa, okay." Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways.
it's also like it's just such a different sport. Like there is definitely, and I definitely had this. There's this misconception amongst rowers that like we make great cyclists. And
Mhm.
to an extent that's true because like my numbers in training are brilliant and my numbers in racing are brilliant. But my ability to read a race and deliver a race and fit and like actually complete the job like takes so much time to learn it. It
Yeah,
takes so
interesting.
much time because and also like you come from like I'm a pretty good time trialer. Like I'm pretty good, but even with that, when it's just as close to rowing as possible, when it's A to B as quickly as you can, like there's whole other wizardry around aero. And it's not just like, being as small as you can. It's also like the correct position of your shoulders in relation to your helmet and how well you can hold this position whilst also you actually can't really see where you're going because the position of your head has to be like so tucked down that you have to like roll like I didn't realize that doing time trials actually one of the things that would be extremely painful is your eyeball and like because
Oh yeah.
you have to like or at least I do for my correct position I have to like roll my eyes so far up in my socket so I can see where I'm going. And I'm like, what the hell? This is not what I expected. But it's also
Nice.
like, you need to be in like a super unstable position, going very quickly, going around corners, descending, like whilst you're time trialing. And it's a whole different world. And then like in races, it's physical. Like it's as in like you're literally like bumping hips and shoulders and bodies with other people and people are touching you and pushing you whilst you're like coming into a finish at some
Mhm.
stupid speed. And so from going from rowing we are literally like you just go there, you don't really
You're
even need a race
obstructing
plan.
my right of way.
Yeah.
Give water.
Yeah, ahead
Exactly.
single.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh wow, this is something totally different. And it's like even just like cadence and efficiency and everything. It's a whole different ball game.
Mhm.
And you
Sounds
start a
fun.
4-hour race with like 100 people. That's a bit different to rowing.
Yeah, it
And there's
sounds
also
more
luck.
fun.
Like, are you gonna puncture? Are you gonna crash? Are you gonna I don't know, do something stupid and just like get your fueling wrong, and so you can't actually
Mm.
give a good performance. Like, there's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different.
I'd say that,
Good
yeah, I
fun
always
though.
said that I think this is actually intentional, but CrossFit always kind of like triggers me a little bit when they talk about the fittest person on earth. And I'm like, I was
Right.
told actually that's part of their marketing, and I felt played that they want to get a reaction out of me, which they
Mm,
did. But I
mm,
always saw stage,
of course.
the triathlon and stuff like that, but I always thought stage cycling has got to be probably one of the hardest things to do.
Brutal.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah.
The back to
Yeah.
back to back to back is just mental. But cool.
Horrid.
Okay, so yeah, Charlotte, kind of running out of time here, and don't want to keep you any longer. You've been very kind. Really, really enjoyed hearing your story, and there's just so much value there. So I'm sure the listener, um, appreciates it as well. Um, cool. What do you like? Anywhere? I don't know. Like people want to follow your cycling or your journey. What's your handle?
Yeah, for sure. Um, well, it's convenient because I have a very long and unique name.
Niche
So
name.
I don't need to change my Instagram handle because no one else has his name. So it's just Charlotte Hodgkins-Byrne.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I mean, like we were chatting a little bit before, my Instagram is sparse. I'm trying to be better at keeping people involved in what I'm doing because I think there is some value in that. And I think like being open about how I'm feeling about stuff and not just having a highlight reel, as we chatted about,
Yeah, that's what we were chatting about
is
before.
pretty
Yeah.
important.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it's also so it's yeah, I post quite a bit about bikes, but it's also like I have a I have a real interest in like well, cooking, but also I seem to
Oh yeah.
be manically creating like a garden inside my flat, which I don't think Sam is loving. But so it's all pretty random.
Nice.
If you basically like, I feel like even though I am very much employed, my Instagram probably like is that perfect niche of like what an unemployed person does at
Yeah.
2 p.m. on a Tuesday. But
Yeah.
actually, it's just me like, no, I'm just again burning the candle at every end.
Nice one. Yeah, nice one. Well, like, look, I know you're talking about kind of sharing the ups and downs and stuff like that. I think
Mm,
you're very candid the whole time, and I think people will be able to relate to what you're talking about a lot. So yeah, really, really appreciate
awesome.
it, and yeah, thanks so much, and cheers for listening, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Nice to be here.